Welcome to my session, everyone, on mastering SharePoint agents, enhancing your intranet with the power of Copilot Agents in SharePoint. A little bit about myself. My name is Noorez Khamis. Everybody calls me Rez. I'm CTO here at CreoSpark and also a Microsoft MVP. And I specialize on everything Copilot AI, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and a lot of other stuff. So we're actually one of your sponsors here today. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Cyclotron, Cabessa, as well as my company, CreoSpark. So again, fill out those surveys, do those socials. You'll get a chance to win some cool prizes. And since we are a sponsor, a little bit about my company, CreoSpark. We specialize in everything modern work, process transformation, and secure cloud as our solution areas. And on the modern work side, anything from intranets or extranets and SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Viva, and obviously everything Copilot. On the process transformation, we do everything on the Power Plat side, as well as D365 and Fabric and Power BI. And obviously, you want to make sure that everything we're doing is great on the modern work and process transformation side. So from a security perspective, so Defender and Purview, that's another thing. And we're based out of Toronto, Canada, and we have offices in Davis, California, and staff all over the US and Canada. So what's the agenda for today? We want to just talk a little bit about agents, and I'm sure you guys have almost agented out between all the AI tracks, but I'm going to take it more from a basic level and show you how easy it is to build SharePoint agents. And we're going to go through some use cases, how you can use SharePoint and create and manage your custom agents that you want to create, show you some of the default agents that are coming with your SharePoint sites. We'll obviously talk about data and security and licensing. That's usually the first question that comes up. How much is this going to cost us? And then we'll also talk about how you can use your agents to collaborate within teams. Okay. So I just wanted to start with this slide here. We know that on a daily basis, employees at companies are creating a huge amount of content daily, and they're actually adding 2 billion files, adding daily on SharePoint and OneDrive. And then there's 2 million SharePoint sites created daily. And at the last event, they actually announced that there's actually now 1 billion users of SharePoint. So from this data alone, managing this knowledge and this content and everything that's pushed on a daily basis is certainly challenging, but this is where AI can really help and unlock this content. And what it can help you do is do things like help you find content easier, make you more productive, and in the end, enable you to create these better business decisions. So really, why are we here today? And we're really here to talk about SharePoint agents and how they're going to enable you to turn your SharePoint sites and documents into a scoped agents that are specific to your SharePoint sites and almost these subject matter experts for your business needs. They're going to allow you to do things like surface insights and scale your expertise, and in the end, make the informed decisions you need to make in your position, whatever position that might be in your organization. So let's go a little bit deeper on agents and SharePoint agents. Okay. So agents are really, they're your AI assistants, and they're going to help you optimize your business processes. They're going to help you enhance productivity across all areas of your business. And they're available in a wide variety of capabilities and tools, and they also have a different level of complexity depending on your organization needs. And if you look on this slide, we've got agents on the left-hand side, such as SharePoint agents, as well as declarative agents within Copilot Studio, the immersive view, which are very, very simple to create. And they do things like RAG, retrieve from a retrieval standpoint, retrieve information from grounding your data. And then there's also agents which are more of the middle end of the spectrum, which are task-oriented, which are able to take actions when asked. and they can do things like automate workflows. Is there somebody on mute? Let me just see if somebody's off of mute. I'm just going to mute that person. Perfect. Yeah, so these task-based agents are in the middle of simple and advanced, which takes actions when asked. They're able to automate the workflows, replace those repetitive tasks you're doing on a daily basis. And then there's a more advanced options on agents, and those are just coming out right now. And this is where agentic AI is, we're all trying to get to, where these agents are autonomous and able to operate independently. But we're really focusing on the simple agents today, specifically the SharePoint agents on the left-hand side of the spectrum. So think of agents in general as these large language models to help you apply the retrieval, reasoning, and intelligence into your daily flow of work. And in this case, they're your SharePoint sites and your documents and your folders and all of your content in SharePoint, whether it is documents or web pages or folders or documents and folders, right? So that's what these SharePoint agents are all about. Now, we're going to jump into this, but back to my old previous comment, SharePoint agents fit on the left-hand side of the spectrum. So they're simple. So that means that really we don't need to do any coding to create these. Unlike the pro code agents, where you need to use the Agentic and Teams toolkit and perhaps Azure AI Foundry on the right-hand side, right? So we're focusing on the left-hand side, where we're going to be showing how everybody with the proper licensing can create these agents. And I wanted to stop here just to do a little demo. Give me 1 second here, and I'm going to share my screen. If you can give me a thumbs up when you could see my screen, anybody, that would help.
Yes, we can see your screen. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start with I'm not going to start with SharePoint agents. I just wanted to talk about the M365 Copilot homepage and agents in that. Now, they're a little bit different from SharePoint agents, because these agents, when you're going to your M365 Copilot chat, you're able to create your agents here on the left-hand side as well. And we're not really focused on these ones today. We're focused on SharePoint agents, although they are very similar, and you can call the same knowledge sources. So if I expand here and you click on the create agent here, and in not so many terms, it's very similar what we're going to be doing on the SharePoint side. There's some pre-built agents, but you can configure your own agent here by just describing it what you want it to do. You could follow a template, you give it a name, you give it a description, you give it instructions, you give it knowledge sources. So you can give it knowledge sources such as a SharePoint site, an external website. You can connect to your custom connectors that you might have at your organization, or any enterprise websites. Okay, so I just wanted to distinguish between the M365 Copilot custom agent, which you could create on a declarative manner. And again, this is another way we can use agents in a simplistic manner, where anybody who has the right licenses can create and leverage their agents. But we're really going to focus on the SharePoint side of the equation. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing. Okay, so SharePoint agents are really a great place to start in your agentic journey, right? And it's for these reasons, right? They're easy to create and use. You could use a ready-made agent that comes with every single site, or create a custom agent with your specific SharePoint content. And you're doing this all using natural language. And there's no real setup needed. It saves you time. AI behind the scenes helps you answer your questions and reason over your content to help you complete your tasks sooner. It's easy to share, just like your Microsoft 365 files, just like your SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams. You're just clicking a link to share via email or Teams chat, these agents. Obviously, it's going to save you time. It's going to give you that increased collaboration. So you're able to add these agents that we're going to talk about today to a Teams chat. So let's say you spend the effort, find the master location of the files that are the most relevant to the questions asked in your organization. You can easily share them with your groups on Teams. And they're secure. It defaults to your existing SharePoint permissions and sensitivity settings. And lastly, they're extensible. They're easy to govern, easy to extend. You can actually launch Microsoft Copilot Studio. Right now it's in preview, but it's coming soon. Microsoft keeps on promising that it's going to come soon, where you're able to start with the agents you created in a declarative manner, or as part of configuring it as part of a SharePoint agent or an M365 Copilot agent. And then you're able to launch Microsoft Copilot Studio, the low-code version of that, directly for deeper customizations if you need and integrations. So every SharePoint site includes a ready-made agent for that instant assistance you're looking for. And all you're doing is accessing it via this Copilot link at the very top of your screen. I'm going to demo this in a second. But at the very top of your screen in the right-hand side, you're going to have it. Now, this is going to appear, obviously, with the appropriate licenses you have. And there's that Copilot icon in the ribbon, and that the agent name that this default agent is given is based on your site name. So in this case, my site is called Trey Research, and you'll see that in the demo, and that's going to be the name of my agent. Okay, so it's pre-included on every site. It's auto-scoped to all the site's content. It provides that instant assistance. It doesn't include lists yet, although Microsoft is moving so fast. I think they want to include lists as soon as possible, but that might be introduced soon if it's not introduced already. And it's located in the Copilot icon within the ribbon, and the site's agent name defaults to the site name. So let's do a quick demo so you can actually take a look at what that looks like. Okay, somebody give me a thumbs up if they could see the screen. Good. Okay, so here is my site called Trey Research, and I'm just going to click on the home page there. And this is just a team site that I've set up. If you look here, this is kind of the ribbon that in the ribbon here at the top right. There's the Copilot icon. So that's the icon that shows up, that gets lit up when you have the appropriate licenses and your admins have exposed it. And this is the default agent that comes with my site. So here is my site name, Trey Research Home. And you'll notice that my agent name is Trey Research Home. Okay. And I'm actually going to use it right now and show you, but if we go to my pages, we'll just take a look at some of my content here. One of the pages is about Trey Research here. Okay. And if I look at this about Trey Research, I have a whole bunch of text in here. So if I go back to my homepage, you'll notice that it will load up my agents, obviously in the ribbon. So let's say I want to ask my agent, my pre-built agent that comes with my SharePoint site, tell me about Trey Research in one paragraph, because it goes pretty lengthy. Let's just hit enter there. And I'll make the size of this browser bigger so everybody could see. So it's running in the background and it's giving us an answer right away. So it generated this answer based on my prompt, based on the information on this SharePoint site. Okay, and you're able to do that it tells us the reference. In this case, the reference is Collab Home. It'll tell us any sensitivity there is on that. And in this case, it's getting it directly from this location here. Okay. And this is a page that I created with some information about Trey Research. So that kind of shows you the pre-built agent that comes, the pre-built SharePoint agent that comes with the licensing. Now, your next question is probably going to be, what about the licensing? So let's get into that. Sharing my screen again. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about licensing now. If we're going to go into licensing and the fine-grained details, it'll take us a lot more than an hour. You guys know Microsoft, but the bottom line is that Microsoft 365 Copilot already existing license users can create custom SharePoint agents at no extra cost. So if you guys are paying that $30 US per user per month for everybody in your organization that has one, you're going to get that little Copilot icon lit up. Now, if you're an organization that is just adopting AI and you love this capability, and honestly, I feel like SharePoint Agents is a great place to start because it's simple. It's already governed by the security you have in place. Hopefully you guys had a governance strategy when you rolled out your teams and your team sites and your SharePoint communication sites. And if you did that and you have the right security, you already have the governance you need for your SharePoint agents and a great place to start. So now, if you're still on your agentic journey and your AI journey, but you want to focus, you want to expose this capability, but not to but you don't want to purchase the M365 Copilot licenses, there's also a pay-as-you-go Azure consumption licensing model available as well, and that's by interaction. And right now, the latest I heard, and Microsoft's constantly changing this, is that it is a billing rate, and this was actually a new one. They reduced it a few months ago of 12 cents per interaction for SharePoint agent consumption basis. And basically what you do here is there's a setting in the admin center. I'll see if I can demo for you in a second, which you go to and you configure this pay as you go, and you point it to an Azure subscription. And each interaction, think about an interaction as a prompt and a response, is considered 12 messages. Okay, and there's actually an agent trial available, which includes 10,000 messages a month for free if you have 50 M365 Copilot license on top of that. So for the people who don't have it, you could get this working for free. Okay. Now, SharePoint agents are also grounded in the tenant graph. So each interaction is going to use 12 messages, and how that breaks down. We'll post this link because it has some references to the exact definitions, but it includes 10 messages for the tenant graph grounding and 2 messages for the generative answers. Okay. So let's quickly demo on, because I'm not going to demo applying the licenses to M365 Copilot, but I will show you how to configure the pay-as-you-go capability in the admin center. And this is for you tenant admins, your M365 tenant admins that might have access to this on your tenant. So let me share my screen and we'll jump into that. So here under admin.microsoft.com, this is where your tenant admin center is, your M365 admin center. On the left-hand side, there is a setup in your left navigation. You click on this, then it loads up, and then you go right to the bottom of the page here. Here you see billing and licensing. Okay. And here you see this thing called Activate Pay-as-you-go services. Now, SharePoint Agents is one of those pay-as-you-go services that Microsoft has rolled out right now. Another one is content services and AI, and there is a whole separate set of capabilities out there. But we're really talking about SharePoint Agents here. So let's take a look and click on this Get Started. Here, I have these pointed to an Azure tenant. And I'm just going to click on this. So you see there's the Syntex, formerly Syntex, then SharePoint Premium, now it's Content AI Services. So we're not going into that today in today's session, but let's look at this SharePoint Agents. And it's as simple as pointing to an Azure subscription. Okay, and all you got to do is go to the settings here and configure and point it to an Azure subscription. So I'll show you what you point to. So let's actually see if we can go to an Azure subscription. Do I have a shortcut here? No, I don't, but I will manually go to it. So what you're doing is pointing to a resource group. in an Azure subscription. In this case, I have an Azure subscription called $150 Andy here. And in here, when I go into that Azure subscription, I've got a resource group that's specifically meant for charging my SharePoint agents to. Okay. So here it is, the SharePoint Agents pay-as-you-go spotlight. Now, for anybody who's familiar with Azure, you know there's resources you can create. I don't have any resources here. It's really left as a container so that I can report on my spend, so that I can put some limitations on it. And there's going to be more capabilities that Microsoft is launching for the governance and the capabilities of cost management for your agents. Okay. Let's go back to the deck. Okay, so now that we kind of know a little bit about the licensing, let's talk a little bit about some common use cases. Okay. So as we know, each SharePoint site includes that agent based on the site's content, and with a single click, you're able to create and share those custom agents, which I said earlier, right? Which only accesses the information we select. Okay? Here's some examples of common use cases. So if we look at I'm going to skip the customer service because we're going to go into a little bit deeper on that side. But if we look at sales, so an agent example on the sales side is a product catalog or proposal templates. Obviously, a KPI that we want to do from a sales perspective is increase our conversion rate. So how an agent consists there is it could propose product models based on a specific criteria, along with recommend some alternative options. Let's look at an HR. So from an HR perspective, employee onboarding policies. That's a very, very common ask that employees have. So how about creating a SharePoint agent, which is specifically to answer your policy questions and to find the policy that they're looking for? So obviously KPI, decrease onboarding time to be able to find policies quicker instead of sifting through all of them and searching, because when you're doing searching, you might not always you might have to do the search multiple times. So obviously they can assist by doing things like streamlining learning, getting that information consumption with that role specific onboarding. And then there's tons of other common use cases out there. So IT and IT knowledge base, a service Q&A, look at the customer feedback, look at the trends, look at the opportunities to inform the product roadmap, legal perspective, contracts. You want to reduce that review time, have that contract consistency. Okay, let's dive into a little bit more on the customer service side. So here's an example of a customer service scenario, right? So where a lot of frontline customer service representative get those service escalations that require that direct intervention. And then what happens is that there's a lot of manual effort done by that customer service representative to find, to research, understand, and form a response about the request that came into them. So SharePoint agents can really help by triaging that response and resolution steps. You can get to a resolution faster, see the top questions, see the customer insights. You want that consistency in response and quality as well. Identify root causes and trends. And then ultimately what we're trying to do is improve the overall customer experience. And in the end, again, decrease resolution times and identify trend and impact areas. So that's kind of what we're trying to do when we dive a little bit deeper into one specific example. So let's go a little bit deeper on using and creating SharePoint agents. To create a SharePoint agent, all you're doing is selecting the files from a document library and clicking create an agent. That's one way of doing it. You can also, this method that we're showing here on the screen is directly from that Copilot icon right at the top here. Okay. And right here, when you click on the drop down there, you're able to create an agent right from this menu. Okay. That's the first method. Okay. So click on the Copilot icon and then click on create an agent. The second one is if you're on a team site, there is a a new button right at the top. Obviously, you have to have the access because we're assuming that your SharePoint sites have already the corresponding permissions and everything and the governance set up. So from the new menu here, there's a new icon here for agent. That's another way we can do it. Method 2 from the SharePoint homepage, select new Copilot agent. And we'll see if we can demo all these in a second. The next way is right in the command bar on your document library, you can create an agent that's scoped to the entire contents within your library. The next way of doing it is selecting certain folders and files and scoping your agent to where you want them scoped by just clicking on those and then going to the command bar and saying create an agent, and it will be scoped to what you select. Okay, so let's see if we can demo those 4 areas. And I do see there is a question there. So no more per user license. This was discontinued. Now it's Azure only. Okay, that's so no more per user license. Okay. Oh, they used to have the SharePoint user license. That what might have been there, but now it's changed. So that's the question. But with the M365 Copilot, you do have access to it if you have that license already. That was a question that Joseph and Ashley. Okay, so let's quickly demo creating an agent in the different ways. So let's go back to my Tray research site and look at those 4 mechanisms of doing it. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so the first way was I said you click on the Copilot icon right here, which again lights up if your admins have configured it, as well as your licensing. You click on that. Right from here, you get the pane open up on the right-hand side with your default agent. And if you click on here, there is a create an agent button. Okay, that's the first way. I'm not going to go into it right now because I'm going to create an agent a little bit later as part of the demo. The second way is right from the add button here. And it's not showing up here. I think I removed it. Oh no, right from the new button here. There we go. So you click on the new button here and there's the new agent capability here. The third way is if we go to a document library, right away you have right in the command bar, you've got a create an agent button. And the last way is if you want a scoped agent, you just select it and right in the command bar, there's a create an agent. Now, another way is if you select right from the ellipse here, you can create an agent here as well. Okay, so that kind of shows us the different ways we can create agents. Let's go back to the presentation. I am muted. So thank God for that prompt. I don't know how long I would have gone talking. So let's go into customizing agents and their brand and behavior. So all you're doing is, and I'm gonna show you right here in this screenshot, is what you're first doing is giving the agent a name. So you're giving it an identity here, right? So you're giving it a name. Then you're telling the purpose of the agent. What's the purpose? And in this case, it says this agent will answer questions about the Contoso Mega 300 camera release, including important timelines, milestones, point of contact, and project details. You can give it an icon, right? It's nice always from a best practice to give your agent an icon. And right away, it's immediately ready and scoped to your selection, okay? And then what you're doing is you're able to fine tune the sources up here and the behavior of your agent. And we're going to demo this in a few minutes. And there's also a test pane right here where you can actually test your agent as you're building it. Let's go into a little bit of the grounding. So the agents support various different file formats, including Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and a bunch more soon than what's just listed here. Luke, PDF, HTML, you name it, right? And soon, hopefully, they're going to be supporting metadata and video files as well. Agents stay updated with your project, so they sync automatically with changes that you do to those files. Right now, there is a cap at 20 sites and folders and files. And again, this is changing on a daily basis. So who knows if it's changed yet? You could check the documentation that we're going to reference at the end of this. But unless you're scoping it at the very last method that I showed you there, on a specific site, specific folder, or specific files. Okay. Some unsupported, some upcoming supported formats: metadata lists, meaning recordings, video transcripts, video files. And as I said earlier, agents stay updated with your site. They automatically update with your file and page edits, and they sync with added or deleted source content on your SharePoint site. Now, when you're creating your agent, you're doing it in a declarative manner or you're manually configuring it. But let's say you wanted to make it more advanced. So with Microsoft Copilot Studio, more the low-code version, there's an integration out there where it's currently in private preview, so it's unlikely you'll see it on your tenant, but you can actually customize the agent you created even further. And you're able to do that with integration with third-party sources, automation, Power Automate flows, connectors, right? And then you're then able to publish the agent to the Teams app catalog on top of that. And we'll see if we can demo that for you in a second as well. So let's go and to the next slide, and we'll show you those elements in a few seconds. But first, we'll go into the anatomy. So when you create an agent, they are stored as a simple file, just like we're uploading a PDF. It has a .pdf extension, just like we're uploading a Word document. It has a docx extension. They're uploaded as .agent files, so that's the extension. So if we look right here in this one, it has an extension of .agent, and it's stored in the for example, if you're creating it within document library, it's stored within that document library. If it's created from the home page, it's stored in the site assets, and then there's a Copilot folder there, and then they're stored as .agent files. Okay, so the site assets created from the home page, and then in your document library where you created if you did a scoped one. Now, those .agent files are nothing other than JSON files, and we'll see if we can demo that for you in a few seconds as well. So when you're releasing your agents to your teams and you want to make the agent accessible to the others, all you're doing is saving and publishing your agent. And then when you want to allow others to use your agent, all you're doing is sharing your agent just like files. So you could send the link to your colleagues as you do for sharing other files. The person who's going to receive the link can then select the link to open the agent. Now, obviously, they have to have access to the agent and the underlying content to be able to use it. But the sharing experience is really, really easy. The next thing you might think of, because the agent creation is based on the same type of SharePoint site permissions you have, but you have to have access to be able to approve the agent for your site. So there is this capability, which is the set as approved. So you're able to approve the agents from the agent picker. All you're doing is selecting the agent that you want to approve, select the ellipse next to it, and then set as approved. And then you get to confirming the approval. And then there's a set as approved button. And then it's accessible to everybody. You can also set as a default agent for your site. So let's say that you don't want to use the out-of-the-box agent that comes with your site. You can set a specific agent as a default for your site. So there is a button there from the same menu that says set as site default. Deleting an agent, again, is very easy because it's just stored as a .agent file on your site. all you're doing is deleting it just like you would on any file, like on any of your other document libraries, either from the ellipse here or from the delete button here. Right? Managing agents. So from a permission standpoint, SharePoint site owners can manage agents by approving ready agents. They're able to choose the default agent. They can feature user-created agents, but only users with edit permissions can create and edit agents. Regular editors can create agents, but only the site owners can set and feature them. Okay, so these are all the permissions that site owners can do. They can approve ready-made agents, choose a default agent, and feature user-created agents. Okay. And here's some additional information on the permissions and customization side. So let's actually do a quick demo of creating an agent. Yeah. Just sharing my screen. Okay, so in this scenario, we want to create an agent that from a document or maybe a couple documents in my document library, because we know that there's multiple ways, but in this case, we want to create a scoped agent. You can see a lot of the other test agents that I've created before, and deleting an agent is very, very easy. Just you click on it and delete it, right? With the management capabilities that you already used to in your document library. But in this case, let's say that I want to create an agent with this document and this marketing campaign, these two documents. All you're doing is selecting them, and then in the command bar, pressing the create an agent. Okay, so in this scenario, we're going to press the create an agent button. So as soon as you do that, you're ready to start using your agent. So I'm going to edit it a little bit more so you guys can see all the screens that are there. And just like in the presentation, we've got 3 tabs here. We've got our overview, sources, and behavior. So the first thing I want to do is give it a name. So let's do the Canadian Cloud Summit 25 agent. Okay, you give it a purpose. I'll just use the default one. Notice that I have add advanced customization in Copilot Studio. So if we want to do more advanced editing, but when I click on this, hey, it's coming soon. It's not ready yet, so it's in private preview. So hopefully that'll be lit up soon. But this is kind of the declarative easy agent view, which is on the simple side of the spectrum. So if we want to give it an image, so we'll give it an icon here. Let's give it an icon. Let's see if I can point to some sort of picture that I have. Let's use this one. I don't know what that icon is, but let's just put something there so it looks good. And then there's the testing pane on the right-hand side. So as you're building it, here's the sources. So if I want to go edit this, so you notice you can add a SharePoint site here by the site title or the URL. It already has the SharePoint site that I'm on. Okay. And then in this case, I've scoped it from these 2 documents. That's what I selected. And you could add more documents if you want here. The behavior is where you can start having fun. So you can give it a welcome message, welcome, ask a question. So let's say, welcome CCX folks, right? Some starter prompts. So ask me about Copilot, because there was a Copilot FAQ here. Agent instructions. So let me just see. I think I had something in the chat. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna use the same prompt that it gives me. So provide accurate information about the content of the selected files and reply in a, let's do a comedic tone. Make sure to respond with CCS is the best online conference at the end of the sentence. And I even have some spelling mistakes in there. So hopefully it figures it out. And all you're doing here is saving. one thing you could do is give it starter prompts. So if you want to give some hints on common things that people are asking for of your agent, just put them there and they show up as buttons. I'll show you that in a few seconds as well. So let's click on save and close. So this one is called Canadian Cloud Summit 2025 agent, and we can run a test here if we want. Okay, so now it's saved. So theoretically, based on what I said earlier, it should have created an agent here. There we go. So just a few seconds ago, it was created. I'm going to go and click on it to actually run it. It's popping up on the right-hand side. So, so here we go. So here's the prompt. Here's the information there. Here's the spelling mistake I had here on the starter prompts. But let's ask it a question saying, tell me about Copilot in one brief sentence. So it's going to look at the documents that we scoped and get us that information based on the prompt that I give it. Let's hope that the demo guys are with me. There we go. So it gave us the information. It's fairly simple. So I did want to show you a few other things. So I want to download this agent so you guys can actually see what it looks like. So I'm going to go and download it. We'll open the folder. I'll open the agent. It'll open on Visual Studio. I don't have this one formatted, but I have an example of one here so you can see how it looks like. It's just a JSON file. So it has our starter prompts here. It has our welcome message. It has our name, description, our instructions. Now, and a whole bunch of other things in JSON format. And you developers in here are saying, oh, I wonder if I could just edit that JSON file. Right now, there's no capabilities to do that. Okay, you have to go through Copilot Studio. Let's see what else I wanted to demo as part of this. I also wanted to show you how to set the default agent. So if I click on the home here, I click on Copilot here, my agents are going to show up here in this dropdown. Okay, so in this case, I have this agent here. So I'm going to basically click on it. So if I want to make it available for everybody, I just click on the ellipse here and set it as approved agent. Okay, so now it's an approved agent. Everybody will be able to see it who has access. Okay, it'll take a second. I know we're getting short on time, so I want to finish the rest of it. The next thing you do is if I want this to be the default for the site, I can click on set a site default here as well. Okay. Good. So I see there's some questions on the chat. I will see if I can answer those afterwards. I'm not sure if I have the answer for that one, the maximum data size allowed when creating a SharePoint agent. But let me just finish the deck first to make sure I cover everything. I promised you guys I would. Okay, so the next thing is collaborating in teams. So sharing agents in teams gives you that easy collaboration. So you can share via email or Teams chat, and this allows everybody to have that accurate information about an agent you spent, creating with the appropriate information, the appropriate prompts, the appropriate scope data. And then all you're doing is just like normal when you're at messaging a person, all you're doing is mentioning the agent, okay, in your group chats. Right now, it only works in group chats. It doesn't work in Teams. That might have been changed, but right now it does. So that's how it works. So all you're doing is copying the link of the agent, and I'm going to show you that via demo in a second. And then you're pasting it in a group chat within Teams so that other people can reference it. And then the same thing. So here's the link of copying the link for Teams, and then you're just pasting it into your group chat. Okay, so let's just do a quick demo on that. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. Let's go to that same agent I created. Let's copy the link for Teams. It'll put it to my clipboard, unable to share right now. So let me just refresh. So I've got Teams open in another window while that's refreshing. I have a group chat set up or a chat message directly with somebody named Adele here. And this is loading up. It's going to load up my agent. Copy link for Teams. And if that doesn't work, I have an example already where I just copied it in. So here is an example where I copied it in with that agent here. So all I did was copy it in, that link. It gave me a button to say, do I want to add it to this chat? It right away responded with me with these information. So let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. The agent responded with me with that, give me the starter prompts that I could start using. And it told me I just need to mention it. So in this case, let's just mention the agent, tell me about Copilot security. And that same agent is now, you could use it to collaborate in your teams. Let's see what answer this gives me. Here we go. Give me an answer. So that's kind of how you use it within Teams. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, let's talk about security. So Microsoft 365 Copilot in general ensures the data security and privacy by operating within the secure boundaries of your M365 tenant and how you have it configured. And SharePoint agents really just adhere to those user permissions to prevent that oversharing, to that effort that you made in making sure your governance on your SharePoint sites and your teams was really well architected from a security and compliance standpoint. And these enhanced content governance capabilities are going to help you maintain that data security for your agent. And in a Teams chat, leaders can review and approve agent responses before sharing it with unauthorized users. So from a security and privacy perspective, it operates within M365 security boundaries. It has that data privacy and security. You don't need to move your files outside of Microsoft 365 at all. You keep them within SharePoint, and then you're able to take advantage of the other capabilities that are available for you in your M365 licenses, such as Purview, and there's this concept of data security posture management for AI in there. So if anybody went to David Drever's session, he talked about that earlier on. There's also SAM, SharePoint Advanced Management. There's some governance capabilities there. There's your audit log, all those same capabilities. They're all being used as the underlying capabilities for security and compliance. Even Purview sensitivity labels as well. They'll actually show you the content that you're being delivered as part of the agent and what sensitivity label it is. From a SharePoint perspective, your agents adhere to the same SharePoint site and library and list permissions that you already have as part of your governance process. And this prevents oversharing of that sensitive information, and people won't have access to things that they have. And then if you're in a group chat, the agent is pretty cool. And I'm not sure if you could see this image here, but let's see if I can zoom in here. Magnify slide for all. Okay. It says here, the agent responded back saying, please review my response before I send it in the chat. Some people in this chat don't have access to some of the sources I searched through, right? So it actually prompts you with that information and gives you that information so you can go and adjust the security if you need. Okay. And then from a content governance perspective, it has that enhanced content governance capabilities, and it prevents that broad sharing as well. So the great thing is that the agent requests consent from the requester if the users don't have access to some of the grounded SharePoint data you gave it. There's also this concept of RCD and RSA, so restricted content discovery and restricted site access. Those are enhanced capabilities within your SharePoint site admin centers, which SharePoint Administration Center. So restricted content discovery allows organization to limit that file searchability to specific SharePoint sites, and it prevents these sites from appearing in organization-wide searches and M365 Copilot business chat unless a user has had a recent interaction. Okay? And then our restricted site also gives capability there to restrict even further. And then on the SharePoint Advanced Management side, if with your M365 Copilot licenses, you get SharePoint Advanced Management capability, which gives you these amazing governance capabilities to ensure that your organization is ready to deploy AI, and gives you these great capabilities as part of SharePoint Agents as well, and in general, Copilot Agents. So you're able to run this PowerShell right now. Hopefully there's going to be a GUI to it, but right now it's a PowerShell where you can generate a report on the use of agents. So really, to wrap it up, why were we here today? Hopefully you guys learned how these SharePoint agents can turn your SharePoint sites and documents into those scope agents and subject matter experts for your business needs. And it gives you that capability to get you those insights and expertise and make these informed decisions. Here's some reference links that I'm going to put up here. And, thank you to our sponsors again. And please evaluate the session if you can. But at this point, I'm going to kind of turn to the questions. Okay. So the maximum data size allowed when creating a SharePoint Copilot, I don't remember offhand, but I'll see if I can look it up right after this. And it's probably in some of those reference links there, but I'll put it in the chat as soon as I can find it. Okay.